The Minnesota Wild continue to win to put pressure on St. Louis for the 2 seed in the Central Division. We recap a dominant win over the Kraken, an OT win over the Nashville Predators, and look ahead to the final 3 games of the season today on Locked On Wild.
You're Locked On Wild, your daily podcast on the Minnesota Wild. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Wild, your daily Minnesota Wild podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. And just as a reminder, Locked On Wild is free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. On today's episode of Locked On Wild, we recap a successful week for the Minnesota Wild, picking up a big win against Vancouver, a dominant win against the Kraken, and picking up a huge overtime win against Nashville. We look at the race for the 2 seed in the Central Division. We have some injury updates for the Wild as well as we look ahead the final few games of the regular season for the Wild. Today's episode of Locked On Wild brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Check them out at BetOnline, where the game starts. My name is Seth Topal, host of Locked On Wild, your veteran captain of the show, and a veteran content producer with over a decade's worth of experience covering your favorite Minnesota sports teams. Joined now by our Monday co-host, another victory, Micheletti. Monday, as Alex Micheletti is here. And we finally get a win against those pesky Predators. Interesting week for the Wilds. Some playoff feels, but one of the craziest games, I think, of the season for that win against the Seattle Kraken, where the Wild fell behind early and just made it into a laugher. It's a team that it feels like they're clicking on pretty much all cylinders as we near the final few games of the season.
Yeah, they're showing us they can win in any type of fashion. It's just incredible. And, you know, it was like a mash unit tonight. You got Camarosa or whatever his name coming up from Iowa and playing on the third line. And it's just, you lose your captain, Jared Spurgeon, 4 minutes into the game. It had vibes of Wild Vegas playoff game last year where Brodin gets hurt right away and you're playing with 5 defensemen the rest of the way. And what an amazing coaching job by Dean Evison and Bob Mason. The 5 defensemen that had to play, there was guys playing out there that were playing roles that they shouldn't have, and guys playing more minutes. We had Alex Goligoski, being the captain of the quarterback in the power play. Just like did not see that come in. Kulikov out late in overtime. Goligoski also out in overtime. Goligoski trying to kill penalties, and Nick Delorier out there trying to kill penalties, and against Matt Duchene and Roman Josi, Philip Forsberg, like, oh my goodness, but they held together, and it's just incredible. Thank God for Jonas Brodin. You couldn't pay that guy enough money. That play he made to stop Philip Forsberg late, it was something else. And Freddie Gaudreau made an amazing poke check that what was basically a 2-on-0 with Matt Duchene right there, ready to score. So yeah, there were some key moments in that game to keep the Wild in it, and it was nice to get 1 point, but to get both was just an added bonus, and both the Wild and Blues at 109.
Yeah, I'm so glad first and foremost that we're done with Nashville this year, because just a mess.
Keep me away from Roman Josi. That guy, he does it all. What more can you say about him? They were gushing on him on the TV broadcasts, and I just want nothing to do with him. Matt Duchene, Philip Forsberg, those guys are just incredible on the power play.
Yeah, and they're going to have their opportunity probably against Calgary to try to contend with the Flames. So best of luck to them. I hope it goes well. I do not hope it goes well. You look at everything that happened this week, and you had a little bit of everything. You had the win against the Canadiens, the shutout win. Also picked up a nifty win against Vancouver. Also had the just thrashing of Seattle, and then the overtime win against Nashville. And amongst all of that, this is unprecedented territory for this team. 51 wins and counting. And you look at how things are going to play out the rest of the way. Arizona Tuesday, and we'll talk about this more at the end of the show, but Arizona Tuesday, Colorado and Calgary to finish off the season. 54 is certainly not out of the realm of possibility, and by just simple math, the Wilds, if they win out, 2 seed is locked up.
Yeah, getting that home ice would be just so huge. We've seen how well this team plays at home, and they just feed off the energy of the crowd. Against a tough St. Louis team, that would just be gigantic to get that 4-3 advantage for sure. If it does happen to go to a game 7.
Before we move on to talk about some of the injury concerns that have flared up here over the last couple of games, is there anything that Kevin Fiala can do the rest of the season that will surprise you? He had, I don't know if I've ever seen as much force thrown behind a backhand goal as the one that he scored. And then he had the sick pass to Joel Eriksson Ek. Continues to just get points every game. 37, 10, and 6 now are the Minnesota Wild when Kevin Fiala registers at least a point. I don't know if there's anything else he can do short of like single-handedly willing this team to a Stanley Cup that would shock me at this point.
Yeah, that man's playing for a contract, and you can see it in his play. The number keeps going up and up. He was the second star of the week last week. My prediction is when we see this episode, air tomorrow, or technically today, we'll see Kevin Fiala be the number 1 star of the week. How could he not be? Man had a heck of a week. That Seattle game, 5 assists, and for what we had, there was a thread earlier this week in Twitter saying that Mr. Fiala is a selfish player. He goes out and has 5 assist game like the next day. It was just, chef's kiss to that thread, like, really, this guy, he has an ego? No, he does not.
Yeah. Noted bad teammate, Kevin Fiala.
Yeah. All he did was set up everybody. Yeah.
Well, it was a great week for the Wilds, and the win column, unfortunately, might have come at a price. And so we will discuss the Jared Spurgeon injury as the latest ripple to this team's depth, and we'll discuss some of the ripple effects that this could have on the team the rest of the way. Our continued episode of Locked On Wilds continues after this. But first, betonline.net is your number 1 source for all of your betting stats and sports info. You can find all the latest sports developments, league reviews, and news, including this year's NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, and the NHL's push to the Stanley Cup playoffs. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. And mark your calendars. The Kentucky Derby is coming soon, which is one of the biggest betting events on the calendar. So head to their website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. You can find that and so much more at BetOnline, where the game starts. Continuing today's episode of Locked On Wild. Again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. For your second listen today, I encourage you to head over to the Locked On NHL podcast. To get a full recap of everything that happened over the weekend from your favorite Locked On NHL insiders, Locked On NHL is free and available wherever you listen to podcasts. So Matt Zuccarello injured against the Kraken. Jared Spurgeon injured against the Nashville Predators. And it sounds as though Spurgeon will be evaluated, see what exactly he is dealing with. But whereas the Zuccarello injury more of a precaution, it appears as though this one probably is going to cost him a few games.
Yeah, the way it was just such a weird play. I mean, he was going in and right behind the net, and his leg kind of kicked out a little bit, and I thought it was going to be a leg injury, but Dean said in the post-game presser that it was upper body. So we've had a few guys get the classic upper body injury term from coach, and it's never a good sign. It always tends to be pectoral or shoulder, and that those tend to be longer term. And I mean, they're going to need one of Dumba or Spurgeon to come back, because if Alex Goligoski has to play 20 plus minutes, that does not bode you well. And so they're going to need one of those two to be healthy. It's just, you can't rely on Jonas Brodin to save you every single time. He does his best, but you need Spurgeon out there.
Yeah, he's just one man, and credit to Jacob Middleton for stepping up and playing big down the stretch in that Nashville game. But as you alluded to, Goligoski on the power play, that top power play unit,
it doesn't work.
No, please. No. And it's frustrating because the power play just starting to get some juice, like Fiala, Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, Zuccarello on there too. That group of four is pretty solidified. So if you can get that offensive-minded center, if Spurgeon's going to miss some time, if Dumba is able to come back, put him right on that unit.
Yep.
And let Goligoski go back and do his thing. And the other part of this is that Goligoski being slotted in to have to take some more time. If Dumba's not able to come back, then that means that Jordy Ben works his way into the lineup as well. And we know how that third line pairing worked the last time we tried it.
Scary. I gotta say though, I tweeted it out too, but that play that Kirill Kaprizov made on that power play goal for Ek was absolutely incredible. The tying goal, he won that puck battle and was able to, just shove the puck right to Kevin Fiala, and then Fiala's threading the needle past Ek was just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's a top line that, for all the issues we've seen with the power play, it's a top line unit that just immediately clicked. And so you're like, okay, let's keep this rolling. And on the penalty kill end too, Fiala, a guy who has slotted into that grouping also, and him and Gaudreau have done a good job as kind of that PK one. But end of the day, got to get those guys back. Got to get Spurgeon back. Got to get Dumba back. Zuccarello, Greenway, Foligno. Get all those guys back and throw them into this mix of this team that just continues to win. And then all bets are off against St. Louis. Ladies and gentlemen, the depth of the Minnesota Wild continuing to come up big here down the stretch.
Yeah, we're going to need that grief line, or they're going to need that grief line. Especially I would love to see them matched up against Tarasenko, Buchnevich, and Robert Thomas, Robert Thomas has been, he's been there. Kevin Fiala. He's just been absolutely incredible. He's people always make the Matchbox 20 joke. But yeah, that guy has been lights out for St. Louis. And so to see a fully healthy grief line go up against them would be great. And Jonas Berdeen's going to be out there every time he can against Tarasenko to try to shut him down.
Yeah, just due to him what Brodin has done to Connor McDavid all year, and we'll be good. Final one before we move on to look at the remainder of the regular season schedule. Are we seeing Cam Talbot start to take the lead a little bit in the goalie depth chart with how Marc-Andre Fleury has done over his last couple of starts?
Yeah. They both, Fleury did win tonight, so you got to give him credit, but Talbot's just been playing a little bit better. And so, if it's game one, I would go with Cam Talbot. It's just, they both have been playing well, but, Talbot is just on a complete heater, and he just got his 200th win in the NHL, which is a heck of a feat. You think, I tweeted this out too, but, he played college hockey at Alabama Huntsville, not a powerhouse. They're a defunct team now. So it's just incredible the way he's persevered in his NHL career. He started off being a backup to the King and Henrik Lundqvist, and kind of learned how to be a pro from Hank, and bounced around a couple times, and and Billy Guerin, saw him play, how he played with Calgary, and they wanted him. He was their number one choice, and he's been great for the Wild ever since he's been here, and so I think he deserves to get that first game against St. Louis, whether it's at home or away. We'll see what Dean thinks.
It'll be at home. And we'll talk about that a little bit to finish off the show as we look ahead to what is coming up the rest of the way, including a game against the Arizona Coyotes that the NHL is evidently trying to hide by putting it on the CW. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Colorado starting to come back down to earth as well to finish today's episode of Locked On Wild after this. April showers bring May flowers and May Built Bars. And if you're looking for that perfect snack to take on the go and to help you eat a little better, Built Bar is here to help. If you haven't tried their Puffs, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's best tasting bars. Puffs are the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They are fluffy, they're marshmallowy, they're not just a protein bar, they're a treat, and they're covered in 100% real chocolate. As with other Built Bars, Puffs contain 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to your standard candy bar, which usually has around 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, and dozens of net carbs. So if you're looking for that perfect treat to eat wherever you are, head to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Again, use the promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Final segment of today's episode of Locked On Wild. Once again, thank you for making Locked On Wild your first listen each and every day. Alex, the end of the regular season features home against Arizona on Tuesday, home against Calgary on Thursday, home against the Colorado Avalanche on Friday to finish it up. And I look at all of those, the Arizona game, a Coyotes team that has lost 10 in a row. The Calgary Flames, a team that has nothing to play for, with the playoffs starting on Monday, will probably be trying to get some rest for their regulars. The Colorado Avalanche game, I think, hinges on everything, and not only for the fact that the Wild will need it, with that being, well, they may need it, because St. Louis plays Tuesday and Friday. So if St. Louis loses to Colorado, that game could be meaningless for both the Wilds and the Blues, but not for Colorado, who all of a sudden has lost 4 games in a row and is starting to really come down to earth. Do you think that Friday game will have some meaning, or do you think we see the Wild start their starters and then try to get some rest for everybody ahead of the playoffs?
Yeah, I think they'll try to get rest, especially after what we saw tonight. It's going to be imperative to keep some of the top guns healthy. We've seen with the decor how bad it can really get without just one guy. And now they're missing multiple multiple top 4D, and you got guys playing in roles that they should never be in. And so I think they're going to do everything they can to try to try to get home, get the points needed for home ice before that game. Just to mentally prepare for playoffs too. Tonight's game was a perfect example of playoff hockey.
Yep.
It was intense. There was crazy moments left and right, things that like were happening. We're like, what is going on? The one in the overtime shot where it went through Fleury and was almost in, and Nashville playing their goal, like the horn in the puck never had a chance of going in. It directly hit the post. Like just craziness. David Rittich, kicking the net off multiple times, and cross-checking Jacob Middleton, just crazy. Oh my goodness. It was quote unquote, not to be funny, wild.
Yeah, it was a mess, and I think that's just kind of how Nashville likes to operate. But yeah, ultimately it will still have some meaning, but I think at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter home or away. It just would be nice to have that extra home game. But the Blues and the Wild playing their best hockey at the right time. The Avalanche are starting to kind of stumble a little bit. And I just saw on Twitter the Colorado Avalanche this season with Devon Toews in the lineup, 59-5. Without him, 5-9-1. And so not only him, but there are some other big names that Colorado is missing to where a first-round playoff series, not necessarily a lock anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible how they even got Toews. I mean, what they gave the Islanders 2 second-round draft picks. Like the fact that the Islanders couldn't hold on to him, that was something else. He doesn't get enough credit for. I mean, that decor is is phenomenal. Cale Makar. What more can you say about the guy? Just insane. And Josh Manson was a good pickup for them too. Underrated. He was stuck on a horrible Anaheim team, so they needed to get a little bit more physicality, and he's been great for them. And Eric Johnson is Eric Johnson, and so they have Byram too coming back from all his concussion issues, who's kind of filling in for Toews right now, and so yeah, they need him badly. Without him, it gives teams chances for sure.
Yeah, and obviously they will flip the switch when it gets to playoff time, but all these teams are in kind of this weird spot where it's like we got everything clinched. There's really nothing else that can be gained from any of these last 7 or 8 games. And it's hard because it's like, what do you play for on a given basis every night? So, like I said, Colorado, they'll get it figured out. Our next opponent, though, probably not. The Arizona Coyotes, who, as I mentioned, have lost 10 in a row. It will be the Jack McBain Revenge Tour as the Coyotes head to the XL Energy Center for this one that is not going to be on ESPN, not going to be on TNT. It's on the CW.
The Buffy the Vampire Slayer network.
Yeah, I suppose it's fitting. I would not want to put that on a regular channel myself. And to be fair, it'll probably be over within the first 5-10 minutes, just like any other game against the Coyotes has been this year. Arizona, despite having some youth in their lineup, not having the effect that Matty Beniers had with the Seattle Kraken. And so get on them early, and there is no way that they'll come back.
Yeah, it's such a it's a land of like misfit players on that team instead of toys. You got guys like Roussel out there who is just an absolute clown. Jay Beagle, trying to fight 30 plus goal scorers, trying to take them out, give them black eyes. Troy Terry, and just Nick Ritchie, who's bounced around the league, and yeah, it's our old buddy Phil Kessel. So
Phil the Thrill.
Yeah, I'm happy for Nathan Smith, who went to Mankato and is getting a chance to be in their lineup. He's actually scored a couple goals, so nice. Good for him. But yeah, just it's a nightmare franchise. They seem to not be able to figure it out. They've accumulated a bunch of draft picks coming, so maybe the future will be better. But right now it's just awful hockey. So that's a game you have to get a couple goals early and just bury them.
I have no earthly idea who will be in net for the Coyotes, but they have 4 different goalies who have not won a game this year that have started. So I know it's not going to be Scott Wedgwood as I check the goalie stats here because, well, he's with Dallas now. So it'll probably be Vimelka.
Yeah.
Probably, but who knows?
The guy they just picked up was awful last night too against St. Louis. He was just a nightmare.
Well, end of the day, take care of business, and the Wild will get the 2 seed. I do also like to point out the fact that the Wild have actually pulled ahead of the Calgary Flames in terms of points this season. The Wild have 109. The Flames have 108. I don't know why I'm putting that in there. Just felt like saying it because, oh yeah, my point was fix playoff seeding, please.
It makes no sense. The Wild, if we had it how the playoffs should be, they should be playing Edmonton or the Kings. It's like the fact that you have to play a 2 versus 3 makes absolutely no sense right away. It's going to be frustrating for the who are the fans who are fans of the entire league, not just their own team, but just seeing like we're going to have Tampa versus Toronto. So either Austin Matthews goes down or the 2-time defending champs in Tampa. It's just that's frustrating. We're going to see some really good teams bow out right away. And maybe some big markets, the NHL doesn't like that, but they continue to go with this format for whatever reason.
Then again, maybe it's not a bad thing because as it sits right now, the Avalanche would host the Dallas Stars. The Minnesota Wilds would host Nashville as things currently sit. So maybe it's fine. Yeah. I don't know. But it should be fixed. It would be nice to be going up against the LA Kings. I'd be fine with that.
That's a franchise that I can't believe is going to make it. Without Drew Doughty, their decor is terrible. And somehow Jonathan Quick is holding on. But I think Edmonton will smoke them. I don't think they've lost. They've just dominated that season series against the Kings, and so. Yeah. Good luck against Draisaitl and Connor McDavid in a 7-game series, LA. I think their D will get torched.
The LA Kings, who have the worst expected goals for in the league in like -47. So good luck to you. Enjoy that, and we'll take care of business against the Blues. That's really all you can do.
No one has to do it.
Yeah. And I think that's where we're going to leave it for today's episode. So now that your first listen of the day is done, make sure you head over to the Locked On Sports Minnesota channel to check out the Ron Johnson Show. Yes, the Ron Johnson, former Gopher and NFL wide receiver. He is the voice of Minnesota sports with big opinions and elite level guests. Make sure to check out the Ron Johnson Show wherever you listen to podcasts. Just like Locked On Wild, both shows are free and available wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure to follow us on social media as well to get all things Minnesota Wild as we finish off the regular season and get you ready for playoff time. You can find new episodes every Monday through Friday as part of the Locked On Podcast Network.